Hello, and welcome to this Greenbuild Fast Chat with Honeywell. I'm Sharada Sessa, Brand Director for Greenbuild, and joining me today is Manish Sharma, Vice President and General Manager for Sustainable Buildings at Honeywell. Manish, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Now, Manish, you started your career with Honeywell back in 1999. But the business unit you're currently leading is newer to the business. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're focused on?
Yeah, absolutely. I am leading a business called Sustainable Building Technologies. And this is one of the business unit newly created under HBT, which is Honeywell Building Technologies. My primary focus in this role is creating a solution and offering for our customers to help them to achieve the broader goal, which they are signing up for net zero and carbon neutrality. And also to kind of, the bigger vision is help our environment, help our society, people, communities to be living in a much sustainable and safer environment. The way we are seeing the progress happening today, if this generation, which is our generation, doesn't do anything, I think we will have a pretty big challenge in the 2 or 3 generations down the line if we do not start really taking some drastic changes and action to reduce the carbon and make environment much more environmental friendly. So absolutely, pretty excited and very energized to play this role to do something for our society and community.
Well, we couldn't agree more, and we applaud you for the work that Honeywell and yourself are doing. So let's talk about the building. How much can buildings contribute to driving sustainability outcomes for companies?
Buildings generate approximately 37% of carbon of the whole what we are seeing. It's a phenomenal number of the carbon generation happening in the environment. And our goal and our objective is to see how we can reduce those carbon generation in the building and really come out with some of the newer technologies, work with the ecosystem, because it's not only we can do that, it has to form an ecosystem, which means we have to work with some government agencies, we have to work with understanding the new policies which is coming out, we have to work with some of our partners and kind of really having that ecosystem working together to achieve this carbon neutrality goal in the building. And that's exactly the goal and vision which we are having, to solve the 37% of carbon which is generated out of the building.
Absolutely. And there's a wide array of benefits to sustainable buildings, ranging from occupant well-being to reducing energy, as you just mentioned, to the carbon impact and even cost reductions to a business. In your opinion, what is the most tangible business benefit to improving sustainability in our buildings?
Yeah, that's a good point. Typically, if you feel that in the buildings industry, the carbon emission which is happening is approximately around 37%. And that's what we see is the carbon which is emitted in the building. Now, in the 37% carbon, when you talk about in the building level, they have a multiple ways to calculate. You have scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 of the carbon. And what we are seeing is those carbon emission can happen through your energy consumption. That carbon emission can happen through the type of power supply of powers what you're using. You are having a grid power coming from coal, you're having a grid power coming from nuclear. It will have a very different carbon generation compared to for the similar consumption of kWh or kilowatt hour, what we call that. So that's exactly what we are seeing in the marketplace, that the carbon generation. Now, sustainability coming into the picture is all about how we can work as an overall end-to-end plan to control and reduce those carbon emission by deploying the latest technologies, by deploying the latest connectivity to the grid, and also creating some sort of a great awareness and right culture and right policies within the organization.
Amazing. And rectifying those two things and making sure you're optimizing both is not always easy. So the technology plays a huge role in that, I'm sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned carbon neutrality. We know at Greenbuild that that's one of the hottest topics in the industry today. But realistically, tell us the truth now. Can a building really become carbon neutral?
Answer is yes. And let me give you kind of a little bit commentary behind that. So there are two elements which you would have heard in the market. One is carbon neutrality. Second one is net zero. So let's start with the carbon neutrality. How do you achieve the carbon neutrality? The first and foremost thing which most of the organization, I would say 70% plus organization are truly struggling today is to understand where do they stand? What are their baseline? Mm-hmm. The first and foremost thing which we got to start doing to define the baseline. And once you have the baseline, then you got to have a path. Say that, okay, I am sitting at my carbon footprint in my organization, because it has to be done at the more of a organization level and more of the enterprise level rather than a building level. So multiple building forms enterprise. If I am an owner of a company A or Honeywell, then you have to have like all the buildings which are part of your portfolio. So you define that where do you stand on your portfolio. This is your carbon footprint today. You have to go to carbon neutral to next level. It may take like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What is the path? That path includes some of the low-hanging fruit, which simple example could be changing the bulbs to the LEDs. So lighting change. Suddenly you will see a good drop in your carbon generation. And like that, you define some of the low-hanging fruit. Then you define some OpEx kind of expenditure where you say, I will spend a little bit of in the automation and some controls and some of the different power sources. Then you have a little bit of a CapEx expenditure. And you say, I would like to have a solar plant in my buildings. I would like to add battery backup, battery storage in my building. I would like to have a connectivity with the power which is generated out of windmills. So these are the different capital expenditure projects which you need to define to say that how much carbon I can reduce from those capex projects. After doing all of that, you finally reach to a stage where you say that, okay, I'm still not achieving the carbon neutral. I'm still having some sort of a carbon. Then what you do, you go to the market and have the carbon offset purchase. Mm-hmm. So achieving all of that will help you to achieve the carbon neutrality. Now, coming to the next one, which I was mentioning, is net zero. Net zero is also the similar path you go, but the carbon offset, what you have purchased, there is a limit which you can use that. It has to gradually go down and probably become a zero. And that's where you would like to make sure that the net zero means your building is the self-operational and it is having the enough projects and capability to neutralize the carbon without having much offset you're buying from outside. So that's exactly the net zero, what you want to achieve over a period of time. Today, biggest challenge, let me tell you, people are facing in scope 3, because the scope 3 carbon generation is having two parts. One is your inbound, where your suppliers and your partners are sending you the material and giving you the product and everything. And outbound, which you are shipping and transporting all the products and solution to the end customer. And this whole ecosystem generates the carbon. And to measure, manage, and control is what one of the big topic going on right now. Good amount of work is going on this space.
Absolutely. So what about Honeywell's own buildings? Have you deployed technology to help achieve carbon neutrality and net zero ultimately?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is exactly what we are working on, our carbon neutrality by 2035. Mm-hmm. And we have signed for the Better Climate Challenge as well. So absolutely, we are part of the journey. Just to give you a little bit of the achievement, what we have achieved so far. We have reduced almost 90% carbon uh, uh, from the baseline of 2004. So it's a big achievement from, because this is not something new to us. We have been in this path and a journey from a long time. And that's why we were able to achieve 90% CO2 reduction on the baseline of 2004. We have got almost 70% improvement in energy efficiency from 2004. It means whatever energy we were consuming, and the improvement which we have shown from that consumption level is 70% improved from 2004. Believe me or not, we have got 6,100 sustainability projects from 2004. We have
Wow.
taken some small projects, some medium size, some very large project. We have been in this path from a long time. So it is amazing to kind of see how you achieve the outcome by creating these small and some larger projects to do that. We have got around overall 160 million gallon of water saved from the 2013, which is again a huge project which we have started. Uh, Now, what we are working on, the next step is we are deploying a resiliency project, and which is very important in the current environment, what we are observing. And in the resiliency is kind of part of sustainability, where you are able to operate your critical plants and factories and operations during the time when there is no grid power available. How do you do that? You need to have a battery storage, and you need to have the solar plant to generating the solar power and bringing them all together to get your connected to critical operations and plant operations. And that's what in progress right now. We would be completing those projects also in next a couple of years time.
Amazing. Now, Manish, I have one more question before I let you go. You've been in the industry for a long time. What is your vision and Honeywell's vision for buildings of the future?
I think the way we are thinking in terms of our building of the future is how these buildings can be more autonomous.
Mm.
Autonomous means self-healing. The problem comes that building understand itself, and it has an ability to heal itself, understand, heal, and continue to operate. So that's the one thing, the autonomous building. The second one is absolutely the sustainable building, which is our goal, which is our vision. We really want to see that the latest and greatest technologies what we are deploying, how these buildings can be right from the construction stage, and also from the retrofit stage of the existing building, how these buildings can have the model in which it is having the sustainability part of the building environment, the building culture. And it is hard because today we are used to different habits and different processes and different policies in the system. How you will shift to that and help building owners to really make the building much more sustainable. The good news is we are seeing a huge awareness in this space from the younger generations and from all the different people, because if we all believe that this is a very, very important aspect for protect our environment, protect our community, and protect our people. So how these buildings can be part of that vision and mission, which is required for our environment to be much more safer and much more sustainable. The third one is, I think, which is critically important, is how buildings can be more completely, systems can be digitized. Because what we believe is, as we saw pandemic happen, and a lot of building operations have gone through many challenges, just because the digitization was not enough for you to operate, monitor, control the buildings remotely. And many places we have observed while talking to customer that they had issues in the energy bills, they had issues in building basic operations, some of the water lines choked, some of the air conditioning did not work after coming back. So how you can have that digitization being part of the whole ecosystem to operate the building more efficiently remotely, and help our environment to be much more conducive and productive.
Absolutely. Manish, thank you so much for those insights. Thank you for being with us today. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. Again, we've been talking to Manish Sharma from Honeywell Building Technologies, and I'm Sharida Sessa for Greenbuild. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.